Disclaimers. 1, there will be spoilers for this 2014 movie. 2, I've not read the book, but I did read a book and I read it for fun. That book is Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell.
The book is all about this idea that we think all the tools we have for making sense of our friends betray us when we talk to strangers. So we're really good, if I know you really well, I have a whole series of strategies I use to kind of understand you, decode your behavior.
Unconsciously.
Unconsciously and consciously.
Okay.
But then if I transfer those same strategies to someone who's a stranger, you go off in all kinds of weird and random directions, and you end up making all kinds of grave mistakes.
This book reminded me of an interaction I had when Gone Girl was first released back in 2014. I wasn't old enough to see R-rated movies. It was the one and only R-rated movie I ever snuck into. I bought a ticket for The Imitation Game. I was talking to my orthodontist who read the book, and he had told me that his biggest frustration with the story was that Nick Dunn, Ben Affleck's character, acts incredibly guilty.
Pie-eating grin from a guy whose wife is missing.
Well, it turns out that Talking to Strangers is the perfect companion piece for this film because it explains exactly why that is the case.
Oh, well, I thought you were unfriendly, and it turns out I was just wrong.
Yeah.
And
well, the word, the technical word for that is that person is mismatched.
Dunn is labeled as a psychopath after the press conference scene because he didn't act as people wanted him to. He wasn't responding to the despair of the moment. Instead, he was responding to the cameras. What do you do for cameras? You smile. Well, that's not what people want to see you do when your wife is missing. In the book, this idea of mismatching is labeled as the Friends fallacy. The characters of the show Friends have perfectly matched emotions for what is happening in each scene.
So when Phoebe is surprised, her jaw drops, her eyes go wide, and her eyebrows go up, right? When Ross is perplexed, as he often is, he looks exactly like a perplexed person is supposed to look.
Gladwell's main conclusion is that you understand the plot of a Friends episode even when the sound is off, because the expressions on their faces fit our false belief that someone's facial expression indicates their internal emotion. The other term he uses for the Friends fallacy is transparency, the idea that someone portrays the feelings that they are showing. Gladwell says himself in his book, transparency is a myth, an idea we've picked up from watching too much television and reading too many novels where the hero's jaw dropped with astonishment or eyes went wide with surprise. The general public in Gone Girl is guilty of falling for the false myth of transparency.
Of course I defend Nick Dunn. Listen, just because this guy isn't walking around weeping, that doesn't mean that he's not hurting.
The hallmark of a sociopath is a lack of empathy.
But the truth is, you'd have to be a sociopath to behave normally in this situation because it's the most abnormal situation in the world.
Tanner, are you trying to tell me that this photo is remotely in the realm of acceptable behavior?
I'm so sick of being picked apart by women.
David Fincher as director and Affleck as the lead effectively portray Nick Dunn as someone who is mismatched. It's clear that this idea is understood in the story because the famously sleazy defense lawyer Tanner Bolt, who's portrayed by Tyler Perry, acts as the Gladwellian figure within the film, defining the idea of mismatched in a slightly less thorough way than Gladwell did himself. Gone Girl is consistent with all of Gladwell's findings. The people who don't believe Nick are skeptical of every move.
Look, these two writers. Oh, look. He's being a good guy. So everybody can see him being a good guy.
Well, you really don't like him, do you?
What's to like?
While when Nick is at his most fake, that is when he is most believed.
She is out there, able to hear and see you tonight. What would you like to say to her, Nick?
Amy, I love you. You're the best person I've ever known. And I've taken myself to the woodshed for the way that I've treated you. And if you come back, I promise I will spend every day making it up to you. I will be the man that I promised you I would be.
Regardless of what you thought about Nick Dunn,
What does it say?
Hang on.
I think we can all agree.
Oh my God,
there's a
you
lot
fucking
more
killed
to
it.
him than meets the eye.
They're going crazy for you.
They dislike me. They like
I know
me.
what the man who was willing to
They
face
hated
all
me.
the pain.
But
Now they love me.
The people like him after the talk show because Nick finally matches how other people feel he should be acting. When in reality, Nick is just kinda a schlubby guy and is someone who might make a joke at the wrong time.
All of a sudden, I feel like I'm in a Law and Order episode. Da, 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 da.
This is the first time I've rewatched it, and pairing it with Gladwell's book gave me more layers to Nick and Affleck's performance than I initially realized.